Okay, welcome back. I'm going to continue my 32 and 32 as we are down to the final two teams of the NFL season. So, a team that just played yesterday, so now I can officially do a review on them, has the Washington Commanders, who finished the regular season with 12 wins and 5 losses. Their first 12-win season in a very, very long time. They would finish second in the NFC East as well. They really surprised me because I didn't have them in the playoffs. I thought it would have been like the Cowboys and Eagles for sure, and I thought the Commanders would have been third in that division. So they proved me wrong, and I'm sure a few other people along the way. So we'll take a look at their full schedule. So as always, I always skip through the preseason. It means absolutely nothing. So they started the season off losing to Tampa Bay in Tampa. After that, they would go on to win 4 straight games against the Giants, the Bengals, the Cardinals, and the Browns. They would lose to the Ravens in week number 6. Week 7, 8, and 9, they would defeat Panthers, the Bears, and the Giants. After that Giants win, unfortunately, they would go on a 3-game losing streak to the Steelers, the Eagles, and the Cowboys before finally getting a win in week 13 before their week 14 bye week. After that week off, and they were well rested, they came out guns a-blazing, winning 4 straight games, or the last 4 games of their regular season schedule against the Saints, the Eagles, the Falcons, and the Cowboys. So I always say momentum can either be great or it can kill you. Like if you start going a losing streak into the playoffs, you're not really helping your confidence or your momentum. But they were clearly going into the playoffs on a full steam ahead. Like they had a lot of confidence, and they were a very good team. And I've said this in so many videos. I'm going to sound like an absolute broken record, but there's no question about it that Jayden Daniels, in my opinion, should and does deserve to be Offensive Rookie of the Year. He had an amazing season, and I'll say this right now because he was able to lead this team from where they were a year ago, and then the fact that they got not only a successful season, a winning season, but they also had 2 playoff wins and got to the championship game. That shows a lot about the credibility of this team and how far that they have come just in one year. So they've done a bang up fantastic job, and I think I'm safe to say now that Jayden Daniels, for me, is an elite quarterback. He can run, he can pass. Now, obviously, he was a rookie, so he's bound to have a few mistakes here and there. And I know in the championship game yesterday, he wasn't perfect, but the team all around wasn't that great, and the defense didn't help, giving up over 50 points. You're never going to win a game if you give up that many points. So it's not all on him with the loss, but it's a learning curve. But so if you're a Commanders fan, again, don't hang your head too low. You had a very good season, and I have a funny feeling you'll be back again next year. I don't think this was just like a 1-year fluke thing, and you'll be piss poor in the sophomore season. I think the Commanders can only improve and get better from here. So as I said before, they would win 2 playoff games. They got their revenge defeating the Buccaneers after losing that week 1 contest. They would go into Detroit, the best team in the NFC, and take them down 45-31 before unfortunately losing to the Eagles yesterday, 55-23, ending any chances of competing in the Super Bowl. So we'll take a look. You can see in their standings, second, they were 12-5 behind the Eagles. So offensively, they were around the middle of the pack, 17th in the league in passing yards, 3,665. Receiving, they were right around the same mark, with 18th in the league, 3,932. First downs, they were 13th in the league with 95 first downs. Rushing yards, very good in the top 5, third overall actually, 2,619. And points, they were 5th in the league with 485. So a pretty decent offense, to say the least. Their defense, they were 11th in sacks. They would finish with 43. Interceptions, they only have 7 on the season. They were 27th. Forced fumbles, they were 9th in the league in that category, were 16th. And tackles, they were 29th. So defense was okay in some categories and not as great in the others. And then let's take a look at the special teams. So field goals made, they made 34. That would be good for 9th in the league. Field goal percentage, they were 24th in the league at 81%. So unfortunately, they did miss a few kicks. Extra points, they made 45 of them, which would be 10th, which would be good for 10th in the league. And extra point percentage, they were 95.7, 17th in the league. That means they just missed an extra point or 2. So we'll take a look at the player stats. So the team leaders, as I said, Jayden Daniels would lead the team in passing yards. No surprise there, 3,568. He would finish the season with a 68.96% completion, and his touchdown to interception ratio would be 25-9, so just over 2-1, almost 3-1 in that ratio. Terry McLaurin would finish with 1,096 receiving yards on 82 catches and 13 touchdowns. Zach Ertz, the tight end, would be second best on the team in receiving yards, 654. And he had 66 catches and 7 touchdowns. Jayden Daniels led the team in rushing yards. He could have got to 1,000 if he really wanted to. 891 rushing yards, 148 attempts, and 6 touchdowns. The running back, Brian Robinson, would finish with just under 800, 799 to be exact, 187 rushing attempts, and 8 touchdowns of his own. On defense, Dante Fowler Jr., the outside linebacker, would finish the season with 10.5 sacks, 25 tackles, 2 forced fumbles, and 1 interception. Bobby Wagner, the vet. Whenever I think of Bobby Wagner, I only think about the Seahawks. Then he played that 1 year in LA, went back to Seattle, and I believe this was his first year with the Commanders. So he would finish with 75 tackles, 2 sacks, and 1 forced fumble. Michael St. Bristol, I believe, the cornerback, would finish with 2 interceptions, 61 tackles, 1 forced fumble, and 1 pass deflection. And we'll take a look at the special teams. Austin Seibert, I believe, the kicker, would finish with 27 field goals on 30 attempts, so a 90% field goal percentage. And Tressway, the punter, would finish with 50 punts, 2,343 yards, averaging just over 46 yards a kick. So again, I can't rave enough about the Commanders. Again, they overcame a lot of obstacles, and they definitely proved a lot of people, including myself, extremely wrong this year. I thought it would have been tough for Jayden Daniels to come in as a rookie quarterback. And again, college football and NFL football, those are 2 different levels. It's more intense. There's obviously harder. It's harder to make a team. I mean, if you get drafted first overall or whatever it is, or in the top 5, you're more than likely going to be the starter. But you got to think, at every single position, there's somebody there to take your job if you either aren't good enough or if you struggle, which are basically the same thing. And I just bring up this point because I know he was in the sophomore season, but Anthony Richardson with the Colts, he got benched a couple of times. And then Joe Flacco came in as the backup to take some of the edge off, take some of the heat off. So I thought that maybe that could have been a similar situation for Jayden Daniels, but no, once he got that starting job, he never let it go. So he had an amazing year. I've said this again, and I'll say it 1,000 more times until the award show is all said and done. He's definitely going to get Offensive Rookie of the Year, and this team can only look up. I mean, again, they weren't that great last year. They came out guns a-blazing this year, and they got into a playoff spot, which nobody really expected them to do. So a fantastic year, and I think they're going to be competitive again next year. Like if I had to make a bold prediction, again, one division could technically clean house with the playoffs because you have 4 teams in your division, so 3 of them could possibly make it. It hasn't happened yet, but I think when it comes to the NFC East, that the Commanders, they're right there. They should be back in the playoffs. I think the Eagles are pretty much a lock to get into the postseason. And then after that, the Cowboys, for me, they're kind of like wishy-washy. Like they have good years, and then if they struggle, they really struggle. So I never would have guessed I'd be saying this at the end of a season. But if I had to put my money on either the Commanders or the Cowboys making it for sure next year, I got a lot more faith in Washington than I do in Dallas. Again, no disrespect to the Cowboys, but I just have seen so much greatness, and Dan Quinn is a fantastic coach. He actually used to be the DC for the Cowboys a couple of seasons before taking the head coaching job with Washington. And that's smart to take a head coaching job in your division because you get to know the team and the players that you formerly coached very well. So you have a better idea of how they run their offense or how they run their defense. So I think it's very smart whenever an OC or a DC takes a job in that same division. Again, like you know the people inside out. You spend pretty much every day with these people, so you know what they're more than likely to run, what they're more than likely to play. So I can't rave enough about the Commanders. I could go on all day about them, about every single player. They're just a fantastic organization, and again, they can only look out from here. I know it sucks, and it's probably going to be a hard pill to swallow, knowing that you were just one game away from the Super Bowl. But again, don't hang your head too low. You had a really good year, and you should only get better from here. All right, that's going to take care of this video. As always, if you're new to this channel and you like this type of content, feel free to hit the sub button. I'd be very grateful and very appreciative. Until next time, and as always, take care.